maturing in a way that is conscious and intentional for my Saturn return versus just getting my ass handed to me by astrology, which I have had and life has beat me up before. I know that no one's coming to save me, and if I want any of my dreams, ambitions, or goals to come true, it's on me. Hi everyone, it's the Lunar Scorpion, aka Wilhelmina Simone, and welcome to my Black, Radical, and Queer and Femme page, where we talk about anime, astrology, culture, life, and so much more. So if you're new here and you're into those things or any intersection of that, welcome. Today, on the new moon in Sagittarius, we are talking about the Astro Planner. I'm not sure if it's focusing on it. Hopefully it is. Let's see. If not, I'll catch some other video of it real quick. We are talking about 2026 Astro Planner. So, as you guys know, and if you're new here and if you don't know, I'm a Pisces and Scorpio moon, hence the Lunar Scorpion. And I am ushering in a very intentional, aligned, and prayerful 2026. So whether that's astrology, ancestor veneration, prayer, community outreach, and connecting with you guys, I am ushering all that good stuff in for what's aligned, mine, and benevolent. And depending on when you're seeing this, Happy New Year. Welcome to 2026. I'm so excited. I hope future me is already like, we're doing it. I hope you're doing it too. I've been following CHANI for 5 years now. I want to say longer than that, but today's their 5th birthday anniversary. And though this video is not sponsored by them, I am a fan, a follower, a member, part of their community, and a proud supporter. And there's some other great astrology, tarot, cartomancy people that I've been following for a while now. So to have some of their products and see how they've grown over the years, phenomenal, very lovely, and definitely inspirational and encouraging. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to try to incorporate some video here of what the actual planner looks like because I do have a PDF version of it. So I'll either be scrolling through that or showing you the actual physical planner via whatever you see here, guys. So yeah, let's talk about it. I'm using astrology to plan for my 2026 because I am in the midst of my Saturn return. If you don't know what a Saturn return is, a Saturn return is one of the major astrological events that happen in your birth chart, in your life. Saturn being father time, the disciplinarian, the very wise but stern father of the zodiac, of astrology, of the planets and all the things, is here to teach us some lessons. So here it says a Saturn return is a major astrological event happening roughly every 29 and a half years when Saturn returns to the exact spot it occupies in your chart when you're born. So we have multiple Saturn returns happening. And since we're using the CHANI astrology planner, I want to make sure that I include what she says or what they say over there about what a Saturn return is, when does it happen, and make sure, since we're using the CHANI planner, that we're using all the terminology and semantics and the right context to why this matters. So for those of you who are new here, I am challenging myself to post one video every week between 2 channels until I'm 30. And that date is February 27th, 2027. So I have a year and some change until I'm 30. This year I'm turned 29. By the time you're seeing this, I may or may not be this age. Hopefully you're here first, and if you're here later, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, all the good things, and let me know how you ended up here and how you're going through your Saturn return, if you are, and if you're through it, let me know. So in the simplest of terms, a Saturn return is when the planet Saturn returns to the same place it was when you were born. It takes place between 27 and 30 years for Saturn to travel through the zodiac. So that means that everyone, all of us, whether you believe in woo-woo or not, goes through a Saturn return every 27 or so years, depending on where Saturn is in your chart, what house it sits in, all the degrees, all that good stuff, right? That means we have a Saturn return in our 20s, our 50s, and if we make it there, our 80s. Thanks to Saturn's slow speeds and retrogrades, each Saturn return lasts approximately 3 years. And I know that some studies just came out, and I've been reiterating this to myself and to other people, that the science is backing that our adolescence actually ends when we're 32, meaning we're not full adults, fully having access to our prefrontal lobe cortexes and being able to understand some consequences, actions, our emotions, our traumas, and everything in between that relates to us, our families, our environment, and the people around us, and the social, political, economic climates. All of these things are interwoven into each other. What does that actually mean for how we see ourselves, the grace we give each other, and how we can start to really give each other some compassion when it comes to how we all go about our lives and what that means for us as a whole. The Saturn return really calls us to reevaluate our values, our morals, our understandings, our behaviors, our habits, our relationships, and everything that we based our identity off of, right? Like, our identities come from our families, our traditions, our culture, our food, the jobs we work, the dreams we aspire to, the goals we set for ourselves, the friends and family who have entered and exited our lives thus far, chosen family included, how we've been treated at work, and have we had the privileges to be conscious about them or intentional about them, and where we all fall short of ignorance, no matter where we are, right? We're all learning, we're all growing up. And so knowing that this is such a pivotal time astrologically, and that I'm going to be 29 in a month or so, or am 29 now, depending on when you're watching this, I have like a year left or so of my Saturn return, and I have 2 or 3 years left until I'm officially a grown-up based with the new data and research, right? And so yeah, I am coming out of, in the eye of the storm of my Saturn return. So I want to, as intentionally as I can, work through these challenges, these obstacles, these learned lessons, these hard lessons, community, and put my best foot forward. Some of that comes from like having older siblings and my parents being older as well, and wanting to make sure that I do right by them, my ancestors, and myself too. Plan as much as possible, surrender when I can, and document the process and the journey in between, right? And what do I have to lose? What do we have to lose by being intentional with astrology, the sun, the stars, the movement of the intangible, and spirits? So yeah. So with all that in mind, I want to make sure that I align, plan, strategize, and document everything that I'm going through, and be able to review and look back on it and see where astrologically and personally things shifted, if my energy, if my birth chart was affected by it, and when and where. So I'm really excited. So let's look into the planner now. I paid around $50 for it after I used like a 10 or 15% discount code, because it went out of stock, got back in stock. I wanted to catch it while I could get a discount, and the money goes to a good cause. If you don't know CHANI Nickels, please go check them out. My favorite part about the planner are, one, the Google Calendar or the iOS calendar download that comes with it, and so I can toggle it on and off of my calendar. So when I want to see like, I'm feeling something today feels a little down, today feels a little foggy, maybe I turn it on and realize that something's in retrograde, something's squaring in my chart in relation to what's going on outside in the astrological realms. So that's one thing I really like, is that it comes with a lot of things. My second favorite thing is for the neurodivergent peeps in the crew is the stickers. They have stickers. I love stickers, and I think you're supposed to use them for your birth chart. Like, I like these dark ones. It's giving Scorpio, Aquarius, Virgo vibes. And then it gives us like warm, also kind of Virgo vibes, Leo, Cancer, Aries, Saggy vibes, and then we have the little Libra vibes, like just all the vibes, guys, all the little vibes. And you get to document your chart. So the thing about having this planner is that it's also connected to the CHANI app. And the CHANI app has a lot of free, amazing resources, whether it's like telling you about your day, telling you about your chart, the houses. It has meditations, guides, rituals, routines, spell work, readings, the whole nine. But it is a pay-to-play system. I already have the CHANI app, but I've paid for it on and off depending if I had the funds for it or not. Right now, I am paying for the CHANI app so I can correlate my chart and some things with the planner, but I think I'm only going to be doing that for the first quarter of the year until I get into the flow of things where I don't have to pay for the app while also having the planner and a host of other things. But yet I still want to support. I want to get the most I can out of this planner and this app, so I'm going to be using it for as long as I need to. And the third thing that I love about this planner, if you are a Lenormand card girly, tarot card girly, cartomancy girly, and you're working on your divination, your intuition, this has a card pull. Not only do you get to like fill out your chart, it has astrology, it has all that stuff, right? And like I said, beautifully designed, key dates for success, key dates for love. It's really showing you how you can align your goals, your ambitions, or even some strategy and planning ahead, or even in the moment. You never know how things unfold, with more favorable outcomes depending on if you're reading or doing work. I think this planner has been available since November, if not late October, right? So I think it would have been helpful, and maybe, this is just me, maybe some other people no, I want a clean, fresh, new year planner, F whatever happened in the old year. But since today is the new moon in Sagittarius that I'm filming this, and planner is given to you or shipped out before the holidays, if it was in stock, depending on when you're watching this, I would have loved to talk about my reflections or things that I wanted to leave in 2025 versus what I want to usher into the new year. But that's just me personally seeing how there's a new moon today, and then by January 3rd, there is a full moon in Cancer, which I'm also really excited about. What I do love also is that this is for beginners and seasoned astro girlies. It has the aspects, the angles, the points, the minor planets, the signs, just some stuff that you could just be in this book and be present with something physical, and you don't have to like go look it up and do all this hoopla online, right? Getting off the screen and into real life. This year, I think it's beautiful that January starts on a Thursday, a Jupiter day, an abundance day. Thursdays are the day for Jupiter. They're the day for good luck. They're the day for money. They're the day for abundance. And what way to start 2026, the year of the rooster, if you're into Chinese astrology, than on a Thursday. I think subconsciously I won't fully remember reading this prompt by January 1st, but I did take a sneak peek at what the question was. And it says, note to your future self. Think about what you would want to tell yourself. Remind yourself of or ask yourself 1 year from now. Then flip to December 31st and write it down in the space provided, and that you'll get to read it at the end of the year. So I'm all for future and past self conversations, which is one of my favorite things to do as a documentarian, as an archivist, as a citizen of this planet. I'm not exactly sure in what succinct ways I want to release or call in things for January for 2026 yet, even though there's only like 11 days left in the year or something like that, barely 2 weeks. And by the time you're watching this, definitely the new year. I want to be able to subconsciously ponder it and sit with that energy versus being surprised by that question on the new year. Especially if you are into astrology, the new year for me really starts around my birthday and Aries season. So I want to be, as with this planner, as intentional as I can be. So if you got this far, please comment down below what you want to remind yourself or tell yourself or ask yourself 1 year from now. I have a million journals. I have journals for what I want to do in my career. I have journals of what I want to do in my life, and I have manifestation journals, and I have like my Artist Way morning pages, and I have all these different journals and all these different notebooks. So I wanted one place to put all the things associated with planning, journaling, and astrology in one place, which is why I actually brought this planner this year. From its full moon reflection pieces to talent, giving you some creative magic to do, aligning it with the app to like just get some more tea, because you know we love the tea, the questions about what did you wake up thinking, dreaming, feeling, what do I feel my body needs today. I want to keep track of that all in this place and all in one place. So I can save paper, save me a headache, and save me from not finishing journals because oogala boogala or who knows what. I love journal prompts. I know when I talk to my girlies, we talk back and forth and ask each other questions. Like when I know I'm talking to my Scorpio friends and my Sag girlies, always have questions, always have a different perspective. Always have a good conversation back and forth, whether we agree or have differences or even similarities, we deepen that together. And I love how these prompts remind me of that. It reminds me of talking to that homegirl who's asking you why, how, where does that come from, what route would that be, what do you see for that in your future, how does that make you feel energetically, emotionally, or physically. So something I really appreciate about that as well. I can't wait to look back on this and see what happened in 2026. I have a lot planned for myself. I know this is also going to help me plan my YouTube videos and connecting with my audience and my community here and beyond the screen and this camera. I'm really excited to see how I can align my energy, some of my movements, and some of my intention in work and play and spirit, and actually document it and see how that shifted things in my life, or not, you know. So a little experiment between us, and yeah, keeping me accountable for me posting 1 video a week on YouTube for a year between 2 channels, so something like that, and get going before getting good and then getting good. So when we are talking about the planet of Saturn, and I think I mentioned this earlier, of it being like the father planet, a confident, stern, responsible authority figure who sits there and be like, you need to detail that essay, you need to fix your grammar, you need to start this over, actually you need to completely let this part of your identity go because it's not serving you moving into the places and spaces that you need to, right? So that part of your naivety, that part of your maturity, that part of your ideas around family and money and career and ambition and sexuality, all are happening during the Saturn return if you're aware, listening spiritually, physically, in all the different ways. Your Saturn return is about responsibility. Your responsibility to yourself, the community around you, the world, and facing a part of our mortality. My 12th house, I have my 12th house in Scorpio, and so I think about death often. That's why I'm called the lunar scorpion in so many ways. And I also think about the responsibility of what I mean to my family, what I mean to my partners, what I mean to my neighbors and the people around me in my home and my environment, I also think about what they mean to me, what friendship means to me, what love means to me. I have Saturn in Aries in my 5th house, right? So comment below if you're in Aries. Hi Aries. I love Aries down. Aries are some of my favorite people, yet they break my heart, and we always have like these long-standing relationships that always end in a bang. I am fond of Aries, but I'm thinking that maybe deeper, more intricate relationships with Aries might need to be left in this Saturn return. But maybe there's some lessons I need to learn through them for myself and with those situations. So Aries, comment down below, and if your Saturn is also in Aries, also comment down below. When I think of all these signs, right, and I'm like, wow, Aries, like the first sign of the zodiac, the independent, action-oriented, cardinal, ruled by Mars type of planet, I think of how Aries can be impulsive and they're deeply generous, how they can be protective and deeply childish, right? The yin and yang of it all. And there's so much more to Aries and cardinal signs and fire signs that we can go into, but I'm just giving you like top off the cuff of when I think of my Aries in my life. And thinking about Saturn, the planet of boundaries, where we create them, where they dissolve, our time, our values, consequences, results, and that being in Aries doesn't necessarily feels like it's definitely not its home. It's definitely not its home planet. And it definitely has different energies, but there's something about an Aries who is like the child of the zodiac sign going through a Saturn return that is for us to shed our naivety and to embrace our maturity while not letting go of our internal youth, our imagination, our creativity, and our things that connect us to the divine that are still childlike. There's a delicate balance between the two. Gosh, I have been thinking about, do I want kids? I don't think I want kids. I am also a Black queer femme living in America at the moment, and it's hard to have good insurance, and even when you do, Black women are still more likely to have a high birth mortality rate. I think about where our taxes are going. I think about how so many women hemorrhage, how so many Black women don't have access to adequate maternity care and child care and support. And though I love my friends and family, this country, the socio-economic state of it all, and where I am mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, having a child has been on my mind, and actually being comfortable and proud and yet still malleable in my decision of like, I don't want to have kids. This is not the chapter of my life where I want to be with a child. And it talks about pleasure and romance in the 5th house. I am not in a place of partnership with any of my partners and being poly and being in a non-traditional style relationship of queer polyamory and non-monogamy. Once I am in a better space, yes, financially, we can always talk about the financials, but when I'm in a more mature, more stable, secure space, even though you're never ready to have a kid in terms of like what comes with it, right? You can't prepare enough. There is no blueprint, there is no map, and it takes a village, right? Being truly comfortable with my decision, like, no, until I am spiritually ready, until I am in a partnership and union with partners and platonic friendships and chosen family where I'm supported, where my health isn't the best place that it can be for childbirth. And if that's something I want to commit to for my life, when there's other things and other ways to be a mother, to be a caregiver, to be a parent, whether I want to adopt or not, how I overindulge in some of my pleasures, and the people within those things. I know I've had some trouble with romance, pleasure, and like my creative energy in world, where that kind of got murky with my career and stuff. Don't date your coworkers. Just don't date your coworkers. If you can, in your mid to late 20s, try not to date your coworkers. If you can, try not to date the people on your creative production team. And to pass Mina, not everyone who sees your art and your creative energy needs to be your sexual partner. Gotta distinguish those two. You know, just being transparent if you're still here. And yes, so learning all that responsibility, right? I am going back, I feel like with my Saturn return right now, with my creative energy and my pleasure, is really coming back to YouTube, coming back to digital creation, digital media, and balancing that with the community that I've built over 10 years in this Hollywood industry, of being a native New Yorker, having backpacked 5 countries to create my debut feature, if you know, you know, and coming back to what I was doing before I entered my 20s, which is this, and connecting and creating, and releasing the shame around that, and also being responsible to that, to the art and the content and the creations and the writings and the films and all the things that I want to create, and not responsible in a way that feels disciplinary, which it can be if you aren't aligned, right? It can feel like you're disciplining yourself, and sometimes discipline can, and in my case at least, coincide with abuse, coincide with not good feelings, coincide with different connotations than devotion and honor and venerating and healing what discipline means through that, right? Because it's all about how we work through things to get to where we need to be, no matter the words that we attach to it. Moving to Los Angeles at 25, the day I turned 25, I moved to Los Angeles, and it was a rough transition because I didn't plan it. It kind of just happened. I could do another video on that if you guys want to know what happened, how do you get to LA, and I can give you a short little glimpse, is that I got kicked out of Hawaii and ended up in a motel in Los Angeles. So if you want to hear that story, comment below. And let's hear it. Let's hear how you got to LA, girl. But with that being said, is moving to LA and having my first big girl job in Hollywood, and being responsible for things that I dropped the ball on, but also the disillusionment of being one of the only racialized Black people on my team for a very Black production, and then moving into investigative work and, you know, stretching my capacities to look through 27 years of footage and audio for a documentary series that I worked on for another streaming network. And all of that growth that I was able to put into my film now, and that I learned from, and I definitely fucked up a bit, you know, and I definitely made great strides, and to all go into the strikes of 2023, the writer and actor strikes that affected everyone across production, and then to also be disillusioned by outgrowing friends, different family dynamics changing since I'm not there in person anymore. What does being in LA and Hollywood mean to me? Navigating queer dating. Let me know if you want a video on my queer dating life in LA, and being poly and femme and radical and all of it. But all that to say was I had to shed a lot of who I thought I was, coming from New York City, coming from the Bronx, coming from Mount Vernon, coming from the East Coast, to being in a whole new culture and being faced and confronted with some of the realities and pieces and parts of myself that were holding me back and that I didn't like. And not only did I like, it was holding me back from fully loving myself, because even if I didn't like it, learning to accept and love it and heal it and grow through that, I'm still on that journey, right? The journey never truly ends, but I had to let go a lot of what who I thought I was, to be who I really am. And I also had to make some decisions on what matters to me. This being one of it, being an independent creator, connecting with community often online, and being able to devote to myself the same way I disciplined myself to carry on capitalism and force myself through things that weren't good for me. So I'll definitely go in more into this of how I want to be, like, how I want to show up in my commitments, how I want to show up and my values. I really value transparency and honesty, and knowing that doesn't come at the cost of compassion and kindness, something that I've matured into. I remember I wasn't a good listener, You know, I'm a yapper. I don't know. One day it just clicked. And I was like, damn, I wasn't a good listener. And me practicing being a good listener. And that means listening to my gut, listening to my heart, listening to my mind, listening to community, listening twice, speaking once. So really maturing in a way that is conscious and intentional for my Saturn return versus just getting my ass handed to me by astrology, which I have had, and life has beat me up before. I know that no one's coming to save me. If I want any of my dreams and goals and ambitions to come true, it's on me. Responsible to my body and my health. I am responsible for my mind and my spirit. And I'm responsible for my creativity, my play, and my pleasure. Working play and pleasure into my schedule as equally as I'm putting in this work for myself and you. Because I don't want to go into 30 burnt out the way I've been going through my 20s burnt out because of what's happening in our economy in America, in my personal life. Now that I have more of a hold in a stable space, thank God, thank the ancestors, I'm able to do more for myself now and commit to myself in a way that I haven't before. So I feel really good about this Saturn return, and also deeply terrified. Are you terrified of your Saturn return? Are you, is it creeping up on you? What's your Saturn in? What house? What sign? And what are you feeling around that? Tell me down below. I want to be compassionate to myself and make sure that I know, just like I know that there's wars and genocides going on, that the stock market is shitty, that our economy is terrible, that there's no jobs, and an endless shit show of whatever is happening in America and across the world that I can't control. There's also astrological things that I also can't control, but what I can control is how I show up for myself, how I document it, how I'm in my community that I am in the environment of, how I can extend my reach by connecting with you guys and connecting with other audiences and communities, getting beyond the screen but not neglecting that this is how we connect and communicate with each other now, and it can be a double-edged sword, and to be the best human showing up in this queer, black, radical femme body that I can. So yeah, guys, for everyone out there who's over 31, how did your Saturn return change you? What came up during those years between 27 and 30? What felt challenging? What felt easy? What responsibilities did you take on, and what baggage did you drop off? Yeah, give me some insight into your Saturn return if you're done with your first Saturn return. If for some reason anyone in their 50s is here, how's your second Saturn return? And what advice would you give for the Zillennials, the Zoomers who are going to be in their Saturn return now? And please let me know, what are your plans for 2026? Energetically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. What did you leave behind? What are you ushering in? How are you documenting yourself, your journey? Thank you guys for watching. And before that, if you're new to my channel or true to my channel, please check out these videos here on either side of me, maybe above me, maybe in front of me. If you're looking for a quick get ready with me and what we're putting into and out of this year, and also my commitments and maybe my other pages if you can find them. So thank you so much. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts below. All right.